time that you have. All right. Right. Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. We're actually rolling. So this is going to be about the ownership situation. Colby, why is this important? Why is this an important topic halfway or almost halfway through the 2020 season?
This is an important topic because you see the trickle-down effect of what has happened to this team since Pat Bowlen has left this organization. What I mean by that is finding ways to lose, players coming out publicly, coaches around the league coming out publicly, criticizing this organization in a way that under the tutelage of Pat Bowlen, it was never criticized as bad as it has been to this point. Also, we have to look at this from a bigger picture standpoint. What I'm putting forth and what we're putting forth with this is truth and
logic. Logic
and reality. And the reality of the situation is we have no active owner. We have puppets. We don't have an owner that can take control and fire Elway because of the decisions he has made over the past 5-6 years. So it all comes back to the trickle-down effect that I've continued to say for the past 5-6 years. And I understand Broncos country's what's the word? The reality is Broncos country just doesn't want to let go of the Pat Bowlen legacy. And I've had to learn to look towards the future. I can't hold on to what was in the past. We have to look towards the future for this franchise. And the problem that the Broncos country sports talk radio has is that we can't get over the fact that, oh, well, during the tutelage of Pat Bowlen, because they like to bring that up 24/7, and we can't accept the fact that we need change. Broncos country is so infatuated by John Elway because he's the Duke as a player. He's John Elway.
But as GM, what is he? As GM, what is he? Who is he? Who is he as GM? Tommy Maddox.
Tommy Maddox.
He's Tommy Maddox of GMs. Great quarterback, but Tommy Maddox of GMs.
So Broncos country has to realize, and once we realize that, we will be better off for it.
Okay. So this is why the Broncos country is so mesmerized. That's the first thing. They're mesmerized with John Elway because it was repeated over and over that he single-handedly put a team together that won a Super Bowl. Now, anybody with two brain cells rubbed together, when you just even scratching the surface, realizes how if it wasn't for Pat Bowlen, even the little bit of influence he had, considering that Alzheimer's was he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That's what I got to deal with all the time. I don't know if you can hear that. I apologize for that. So anyway, it's the John Elway show. It's the John Elway show, but Pat Bowlen, even in his condition, had a lot more to do. It never would have had it. We never would have had Peyton Manning without Pat Bowlen, and there would have been no Super Bowl 50 without Pat Bowlen. So there's an Elway contribution to it, but that's an asterisk because the main bulk of that contribution really came from Pat Bowlen. So with that said, Pat Bowlen is dead. The Pat Bowlen legacy is dead. Unfortunately, it's buried. That's the way it goes. There's nothing any of us can do about it. Now, moving forward, there are people who really want to believe that the sun will rise in the West. Okay, they really believe that the sun's going to rise in the West, so they're waiting for Brittany Bowlen to take over, and I do not believe that Brittany Bowlen is in any way qualified. Beth Bowlen is no way qualified. It doesn't even matter because the way Pat Bowlen set this whole thing up was, kids, you decide, you're the shareholders, you decide how this thing's going to move forward. If you cannot make a decision, I have put together a trust. There's actually two trusts, one in 2002, then a new trust in 2008 or 9. At any rate, the NFL signed off on the latter. And so it's Pat Bowlen's wish that the kids decide how they're going to move forward. Just like the sun rising from the West, nobody will make Brittany Bowlen the owner, or Beth Bowlen. None of the. So let's just cut the crap, cut the bullshit, and let's just move on. The Denver Broncos are going to have to sell the team. They will end up selling the team, and that's Pat Bowlen's wish, because they're never going to agree. And that's plan A. Plan B is on Pat Bowlen was, if they can't resolve this, the team's going to get sold. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's going to happen because nobody's going to decide on the other taking over the team. So Denver Bronco fans better get used to figuring that there's going to be a new owner one way or the other. Now, Peyton Manning's been thrown in there, but we know that Peyton Manning can't single-handedly buy the team. Unless, of course, maybe he found a bunch of investors under his name, but he has to put that through the NFL. Co-ownership, I don't think will work in the NFL. I don't think the other 31 teams will sign off on co-ownership. So will Peyton Manning work more as a general manager or VP like John Elway, and bring in or be a part of an ownership process, and get Mark Cuban? I'm just kidding. But find a billionaire, because the billionaire is the only person who can afford the team. They'll have to find a billionaire to buy the team. That's my spiel. I'm sticking to it.
I agree with you 100% on what you've said. And I've continued to stand by this point for years. You started doing videos, so it started spreading the word to people that actually want to listen and know reality and know the truth. My problem is one way or the other, I don't know if the kids have the cojones to sell this team. That is one side of the spectrum that we also need to talk about.
Well, they don't have a choice. It's going to come to a deadline. I think 2022 is going to be it. It's either then or never. So
why do you think they signed Elway through 2022?
Exactly.
Why do you think Ellis signed him through 2022? Because they know they're done. Elway is not going to stay. He's going to stay with his organization for as long as he lives.
No,
Elway's
he's not going to tolerate
an
actual owner telling him, I'm not putting up with this anymore. So besides that, he's probably had enough anyway. I mean,
what I see from my two eyes and what I have observed and what I've done research on is, this is what, and Elway stinks at his job, and I know that, you know that, a lot of other people, some people know that. But what I think he's trying to do is he's just trying to get this team as much talent as possible, and then when he leaves, he's not criticized for leaving this team in a dump. But that's not going to be the case, because this team is going to stink under his tutelage as long as from the top down. That's why they haven't won anything since Super Bowl 50. That's why they've had a losing record since Super Bowl 50. That's why they are degraded on the offense and defensive line, like we talked about. But
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
no team, it's been noted, duly noted, in sports, uh, in the rest of the world, that no NFL team, after winning a Super Bowl, has crashed and burned like the Denver Broncos. That's because there never was a plan put in place, a post Peyton Manning plan put in place. But that just even being said, there, Bowlen again was instrumental getting that team to a Super Bowl. I mean, that's what people probably don't want to talk about. It's all John Elway. Couldn't possibly be Pat Bowlen. He had Alzheimer's. Well, we know we brought in the defensive coordinator. We also know that some of the other things that he's got, by Peyton Manning's own words, he got Peyton Manning to sign on the dotted line. That was not John Elway. And then obviously everything snowballed after that with free agency.
I'm going to bring up a point that you brought up early. It's not just the years that Peyton Manning was here. It was the years prior when you actually had a GM and Brian Peters that I've glowed that I want back as the GM. And Pat Bowlen and him worked together as a tandem that a lot of people don't like to bring up and talk about, okay? Just like with John Beck, you always bring up about the Mike Shanahan era.
John Beek. John Beek.
Sorry.
Yeah. That goes back to Shanahan, the over glorification of Shanahan putting a team together, when John Beek, really the guy who signed Elway, he was the guy that signed Elway, but he brought in all the free agents. It wasn't Shanahan.
And prior to Peyton Manning, that team was already built because they had depth from the bottom up, or the top down. Sorry, they had depth from the top down. They just needed to add a few extra pieces. And I'm also going to bring up this. Well, John Elway brought in those free agents. Elway.
No.
Who influenced those free agents to come to Denver? It was Peyton Manning.
Well,
okay?
It wasn't just Peyton Manning, but you're right. Peyton Manning was really the catalyst, but it also was Wade Phillips. They were going to come play for Wade Phillips, too.
Yep.
A lot of it was on defense. The players that came were a lot of people on defense.
And a lot of people, what do you mean, what do you mean Pat Bowlen wanted Wade Phillips? Because John Elway wanted Vance Joseph to be the defensive coordinator in 2015. A lot of people don't like to bring that up.
Yes.
Okay.
The Book of Forgotten, yes.
The Book of Forgotten. They like Broncos country is memorized by the John Elway figure. Okay. And they don't like to bring up the deeper issues that have gone on in this organization since Pat Bowlen has left. The atrocity that has gone on in this organization, the stuff they've been able to get away with that under Pat Bowlen's tutelage.
Yeah, I don't think.
Elway would have been fired. Elway would have been fired for this. Wouldn't have gone on as long as he.
Well, he wouldn't have got the contract renewal. Yeah, he wouldn't have got the contract renewal, and there probably would have been a lot of headbutting that led up to that.
And there's already headbutting in the organization because between the trust and Elway, they're not going to fire Elway. They don't have the cojones to do that. No. They're not going to get. Joe Ellis doesn't have the cojones to do that.
No, they're all writing it out. The 2022.
Exactly. Why
they're writing that out.
Why do you think Elway has gone a little bit better at drafting? A little bit. I wouldn't say a lot, but he's trying to fill this team with talent so he doesn't get blamed for it. But that being said, look at the free agents that he's brought in. Guys that don't even play here. Guys that go on in different cities and different football teams and have better careers than they've had in the Denver Broncos uniform under the tutelage of John Elway.
You add that, those players leaving and being good, and Elway bringing in the Juwan James of the world.
Exactly. Not just
Menelik Watsons.
Yeah, exactly. Not just players, but coaches as well. Coaches go on to different organizations and different staffs in the NFL. Once they're there, they criticize this because Elway, there was a quote that came out. I don't know if it was this week or a couple weeks ago. And the quote was this. I don't know who the quote was by, but they said that John Elway has turned this team into a very toxic environment. That should tell you a lot.
Yeah.
Stop clamoring over what he did in the past because it wasn't just him pulling all those strings. Okay? John Elway inherited a very well-oiled machine with depth. Oh, well, we haven't had a good special teams since 2015.
Well, whose fault's that?
Who is that? They had
whose
talent.
fault's that?
They had depth.
Yeah.
It has strategic players that fit the system. But we always, it's the coach's fault.
Yeah.
It's not John Elway's fault.
Before you can have coaching, you have to have
Players.
You have to have scouting. You have to know who you're bringing into what you're bringing it into. But with Elway, under him, we were off in every direction possible. Well, we're not going to have that system, so let's bring in Case Keenum. Well, wait a minute. You're not running a system that's even remotely what this guy was running. Well, then get rid of this guy. Now we're going to get another system, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
You pointed out what we've talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that is we've continued and under Elway and other, I'm going to bring this up. Elway and other organizations wouldn't have lasted this long.
No.
But like you just said, we continue to go after this coordinator. We continue to go after this coordinator. Like you always spring up in 2015. Okay, 2014. I see what the Seahawks did. In 2019, I see what the Chiefs did. Okay?
We don't have an identity.
You can't do that.
Identity. They have no identity.
You have no idea. You don't have any identity from the top down. You don't have an owner. You don't even have a guy that can hold these scouting department people, John Elway, the Russell guy, that's Elway's second hand. You don't have anybody that holds these people accountable.
No.
And when that happens, and when that starts to creep in organizations like the Redskins, the Jets.
Well, it's worse than that. It's even worse than that. It's a rudder. This is a rudderless. This is the actual definition of a rudderless ship.
Desert.
Yeah, it's a rudderless ship, just going down a drain.
But when is Bronco fans gonna realize that? We both realize that.
Well, that's why
when
we're doing this video. What is it? Week 5 or is it week 6 now? I think it's week 6 in the NFL. 2020. This is going to last. What we're doing now, it's going to linger, and people are going to keep coming back to it. It's like, geez, these guys were talking about this way back now, because
you've been talking about this ever since you started this channel.
That was how I opened the channel. I said this has gone on far enough. I said this is not going to get resolved until there's ownership, and then we don't know what ownership that the Broncos are gonna get. We have no clue.
I've looked up some names.
Give me some names. Mark Cuban. No,
I'm thinking about David Knight.
Okay, David Knight.
He is a co-founder of Nike.
Okay.
And he's over at the Oregon Ducks at the Pac-12. And you see all those jersey sales and all that. I'm not saying just because of jersey sales, but you have a guy that's worth $1.1 billion that I think would be able to buy a team, or the Amazon, Jeff Bezos, or any of those guys.
That scares me.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that's why I don't really bring. People brought him up, but I'm not a big fan. It was just a suggestion. But David Knight is a guy I'm targeting right now because he's a co-founder of Nike. And he has a lot of sales that have elevated Nike, which is incorporated it into the clownless NBA, that has incorporated into the clownless NFL. But that being said, I'm just saying, like, David Knight is a guy you should keep an eye on. I don't think he'll buy this team, but it's a guy that I've done some research on. I did some research on him last night. But that being said,
no Mark Cuban.
No, I don't want Mark Cuban. I don't want Mark Cuban.
We got to joke around a little bit here because God knows you'll probably hear that once. What's going to happen is that Bronco fans will not be able to escape the inescapable. The inescapable is that These
outdated
kids
agreement.
are never going to agree to the ownership of whoever they put forward, because Brittany Bowlen's already a minority in the shareholder. She's a minority. She doesn't have a majority vote even. And I would assume that if Beth was to somehow get anointed, she would get a minority vote too. You might as well hope the sun comes up in the West. That'll never happen. Once the Bronco fans realize the team has to be sold, and I just want to put something else out there. Bronco fans, the kids are the shareholders. The kids are the shareholders. They will get the money when the team is sold. Don't buy into this. Oh, if they don't make a decision, they get no money. That is absolutely not true. Once the team is sold, they'll get whatever share they get. I'm not going to sit here and worry about the deck chairs on the Titanic. What I'm worried about, or I'm concerned about, is this ownership question, because the Denver Broncos, Pat Bowlen is dead. He's not coming back. We can't resurrect him. He's dead. This team's got to move on. And John L. Davis Elway is not going to be involved in the Broncos after 2022. It's a done deal. So I'm figuring we're going to lose Locke. We're going to lose Fant. We're going to lose Fant. We probably will lose Fant. We're going to lose Fangio. We're going to lose a lot of players. It's going to look a lot different when the Broncos start. Basically, the Broncos are like wavering, and I'm not the first one to say this, wavering as a expansion team right now. They're wavering around as an expansion team right now. So when they get rid of the rest of the dogs, rest of the coaching, they will be an expansion team with a new owner, basically. That's what's going to happen. I'm saying it here. I'm marking it now on the sixth week of the 2020 season. That's where we're heading, like it or not.
Oops. If that happens, see, and this is what we've talked about many times, is I have come to the realization, and you've helped me do more research on the subject, and it's really unfortunate, but the people that are Drew Lock fans, you're just going to have to accept the fact that they've ruined them. And,
well, we're in the process right now. When we're done with this and you have a chance, we'll go and rehash update the New England game situation, but we'll save that for a different video altogether. But I think it's in the making. I think it's in, and I'll discuss that as the season goes on. That if they don't get him, Alex Smith or the guy out in Dallas there, Dax Preston, get him killed.
Yeah, we're going to be I can't believe you said it. We're going to be under a new tutelage of an owner, expansion team. I never thought in a million years I would say that about Glant, one of the flagship franchises in the NFL under Pat Bowlen. I would have never said that in a million years, but we're here now.
Well, I mean, if the problem is the problem is he got remarried, because he could have took his daughter Beth Bowlen under his wing, but you can't do that with your second wife. That's not going to go over. I don't know if when you get married, you'll understand all this wife politics going on. If he had took Beth Bowlen under his wing this whole time, and I got to groom you to be the next. It's probably what he should have done. Dan be the current wife. If he really wanted this to stay in the family, but it's never going to happen. The sun might as well come up from the west. Nobody's going to agree on any of those their other siblings taking control. That's just not going to happen. It's going to be, the realization is sell the team, take your cut, and it was a great run while it lasted. Because they're never going to be agree. There's going to be a deadline. And that's part of what the commissioner said about Pat Bowlen's wishes. Selling the team is a part of Pat Bowlen's wish if they cannot make the agreement. So there's a deadline. They have a deadline. That's the number one thing I was looking for was the deadline.
And it's 2022.
It's 2022. So one way or the other. And if they are in court till eternity, deciding how the money gets cut up, then that's on them. The trust is going to by the NFL is going to say we can't have the trust running a football team. You have to default to ownership. Once this, and if you read the commissioner he talked a lot to Pat Bowlen about it. If I die in a helicopter crash, that was probably the first trust. Then the second, after being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, there's the next. This is how we're going to have to do this. I'm sure that every single owner that doesn't have an heir, has probably some sort of an exit plan of a trust, a board of trustees. In case the Learjet crashes, right? So it was set up so the kids could decide, and if they can't, it has to be sold. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yep.
So that's whether Bronco country wants. They can sit there and cheerlead Brittany Bowlen, just cheerlead her, but it's not going to happen. And they can scorn Beth Bowlen and everybody else all they want. It's never going to happen. It doesn't matter. It's a moot point. I'm looking now at who's going to own the Denver Broncos. I'm already moving forward. Okay.
I've moved on.
Mark Cuban. I don't have
Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder. He may need he may just say, I've had enough of the Redskins. I'll see if I can ruin another team.
Yeah. We'll just hire. Yeah, I'm gonna root for Dan Snyder. That's my guy.
Dan Snyder. Yeah, he hasn't ruined enough NFL teams. He needs to ruin another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want Amazon, because to me this guy has got so much other stuff going on. I can't imagine. This is just an investment, something in his portfolio. So
for sure,
I don't see the passion, in some out of touch billionaire. Hey, what about Oprah Winfrey? Isn't she in the billionaire club? Oprah Winfrey, she could own the team.
Oh God. One of the Kardashians.
We should kind of make we could make it kind of fun. We should find out who would be the worst owners we could probably get. We got Oprah Winfrey.
Dan
we got
Snyder.
Mark Cuban. Dan Snyder. It's too bad Al Davis isn't alive. At 100 years old, we could.
I would say his Mark Davis.
Is there a Davis out there?
Yeah, isn't that his son or brother or whatever that owns the Broncos or the Raiders now?
Oh, I think it's a son that owns the.
Oh yeah, him, because he's been a travesty as well. But they did beat the Chiefs.
I think right now he's doing better than Elway.
No, he is, because they beat the Chiefs. We can't even score more than 14 points a game.
No, we'll get it. Yeah, and I'm going to get into all that with this New England.
I know.
With this New England. So if you can do a quick thing on New England, we'll end this one and we'll get on the quick New England thing. I don't know what time your time frame is, but
I'm good.
But it's going to be interesting to see how all this keeps playing out, and we have this as a record. Okay, because nobody will talk about this, really. I mean, the Huddle never talk about it, really. I mean,
No, Sports Talk Radio, they tell the truth. They tell the truth on there. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for them to roll out Mark Cuban. That's why I put that out there. He could own the team. He could. I think he's
agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Look at all the agreeds.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, too much. All right, let's end this and we'll start up the New England. We'll do the New England thing, because I got plenty to say about that.
Yeah.
All right, so Pat Bowlen ownership done. We'll move on to the New England 2020 game.
Yep.
That may or may not happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right.